Hello everyone, welcome to Exclam Chess. And this video, I'm going to be going over a game that was played on chess.com by the user, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Gideon Ting. And his rating is about 1,000, to give you an idea of his level. And this was a 10-minute game with no delay or any time added. So we're gonna go over this game and see if there's anything that we can learn from this, or if there's anything that maybe we can help Gideon Ting, again, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, and if there's anything that we can help him learn from this game. Okay, so e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop to b5, very standard opening moves. Okay, f6. Now this move, I don't like. You should never push the f-pawn without good reason. And in this case, it kind of exposes the king a little bit. Because once this diagonal becomes open, then sometimes the black king can be a little bit open to attack. And it can become difficult to castle. Okay, so knight c3, a6, takes c6, d takes c6, and white's given up a bishop pair, but has doubled black's pawns in exchange. Knight takes e5, and f takes e5. Yeah. So sacrificing the knight. So I feel like this might have been a little bit premature because of the reasons that white doesn't have many pieces out to attack the black king. This sacrifice winds up working out. But one thing that I would recommend is before making a sacrifice, really think about it and make sure you have concrete reasons as to whether or not this sacrifice will work out. In the game, after queen to h5, black makes a big mistake and plays g6. However, one option that black could have looked at was maybe king to d7, just moving the king away. And the king will be a little bit awkwardly placed, but he will have a material advantage of a piece or two pawns. And so having that slight material advantage should be worth a little bit of trouble in reorganizing your pieces. And I think that if black would have played this move, he probably would have been a little bit better off. Okay, so back to the game. g6, queen takes e5, queen to e7, queen takes h8, and these next few moves I'm going to go through pretty quickly because it's just letting out his bishop, pinning the knight. b5, black's going to get out of the pin by playing bishop b7, revealing the rook on the queen. 0-0, castling kingside. Avoid a hassle, always castle. So just because you're up material doesn't mean that you should neglect your king safety. As a matter of fact, there's even a saying in chess. Improving the king's position is never a bad idea. And those are words that I live by when I play chess. So, castling is a good call. a5, playing on the wings, doesn't make any sense, I don't think. a5, I would rather play in the center. I'm a much more a fan of playing on the center than playing on the wing. Okay, a4, knight takes a4, b takes a4, queen to a3. Now, here's something that I notice is a common problem, and I used to have the same problem when I was starting out in chess, is I wouldn't think about what happens when a piece that used to be somewhere isn't there anymore. So after queen takes a3, it would be very easy to calculate this in your head that you're not losing material on the queen exchange. But then you might forget that once this pawn captures, this diagonal opens. And so this diagonal that used to be closed now is open, and you lose your rook. So that's a common problem. And so you need to train yourself to be able to recognize that once a piece moves out of the way, what's going to be there. Okay. Rook to b2, invading the second rank. This rook is really powerfully placed here, because a rook on the second or 7th rank for white, if a white rook's on the 7th, or black rook on the second rank, this is very powerful, because there's all these pawns on the second rank. And so it's very tough to be able to repel firepower of that magnitude. Take c2, g3. Okay. And so here white's just pushing his pawns, because if there's going to be a chance of getting a draw, it would be maybe by pushing those pawns and exchanging off every pawn on the board, or maybe by pushing one and trying to get a queen. Okay, and right here, black actually just misses a resource that could save his piece. So right now, this bishop and this rook are both attacked. Black actually has a little tactic called a in-between move, or I believe in German there's actually a word, I think it's Zwischenzug, which means an in-between move. So this check could be played, and now the rook will be defended by the pawn. And then after king to e3, then this bishop can retreat somewhere. And then he can save his piece. Looks like black missed that, though. And then the rook gets to capture the bishop on a2. And then the next move is d4. But it's one move too late. Okay. Okay, I'm going to go quickly through these next few moves. And, okay, so here, now the king's a little bit out of play, actually. He's trapped on this second row. In the end game, your king's a very useful piece, because you don't have many pieces left anymore. And so you want to make sure all of them are doing a lot of work. And right now, with the king on the back row, he isn't being as useful as he could be. King activity is a very important feature of the endgame. Okay. Also, one other thing about this king being on the back row, let's go back one move, is now there's some difficulties that white's going to face. With some squares in front of the king being taken away, there's threats of back row mates that need to be watched out for. Okay. Okay, let's keep going through these moves. Okay, and here black's actually let most of his advantage slip away. Because now on a rook endgame with only a few pawns left, it's starting to look pretty drawish, as you can tell. And now at this point, even if white were to lose his pawn, it would still be very, very easy to draw, because this type of position is pretty much mapped out in books. Like if you look up a Philidor position, that's kind of the worst case scenario that white could face here. And even that is easily drawn. Okay. And so let's keep going here. And so right here is one last thing in here that I'd like to show, and it really shows how important it is to know your endgame. So I'm going to go back a few moves here. So after king takes e1, white is very lucky here, because black plays king to d3. which throws away the win completely. Unfortunately for black, he could have had one chance to win this. This is how it's very important to know your endgames. Because after king to e3, black is winning. Because let's go through what happens here. So white moves towards the pawn. And now black can push his pawn. And now white has no good moves. Has to move out of the way. And now this pawn will be able to turn into a queen, and black will be able to checkmate white. So now let's go back though to king takes e1. And now after the move that black played, king to d3, now it is a draw, because we'll see what happens now is after white moves towards the pawn. Now the pawn gives a check. King to c1, then king to c3, stalemate. And so this is the slight difference of moving king to d3 or king to e3. Small differences like that make a huge impact in endgames. And so I highly recommend that you make sure you learn your endgames. If you learn them, you'll see a world of difference in your gameplay. So that would be probably the biggest recommendation I would have, is make sure you know your endgames. Okay, so that's all for this video. Thank you for watching.